Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. This is Lori Harris with Micro Accounting. Welcome to our webinar with Sage Data and Analytics, focused on Sage Intacct today. Sage Data and Analytics is a partner. The company is called Zap that's behind it. So you'll also hear us and them refer to it as Zap. So Zap is a data and analytics tool that integrates with Sage Intacct, as well as several other Sage solutions and things that are not Sage. So you can link to different databases even outside of that to pull data together if you have that in your organization. We do have our partners with Zap that are going to be doing the presentation today. So I have David Ramirez, who's going to be our presenter. And then what he's going to do, he's going to go through a little PowerPoint, and then he's going to get into a live demo of the solution, and then we'll take questions at the end. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to David and let him take it away. So David, all you.
Thank you. Thanks, Lori, and thank you for the introduction, and thank you everyone for joining. My name is David, and I will be the presenter for today's session. And I'm very excited to have you here today, where we will explore how we can extend and expand Intacct reporting capabilities using Sage Data and Analytics, which, as Lori mentioned before, we will be also referring as Zap. If you have any issues with the audio hearing, please just write it in the Dropbox. It seems like I'm having some issues with the audio, so just let us know if you lost the audio. And I want to start with a bit of a reflection. And I want to ask you, what are the common reporting challenges that you are facing today? And throughout the years of experience that we have working in the data and analytics industry, we have gained a fairly good understanding on what are the common reporting challenges that you might be facing. But most importantly, we have gained a good understanding on how we can get quick wins to overcome those challenges, right? And now let's take a pause, and I want to invite you to have a closer look at this picture. Because I believe that this is how many of us feel when it's the moment, right? When we need to create reports and we have those due dates where we need to present those reports to the bigger team. We spend hours trying to extract the data. We might have an army of mugs of coffee to try to keep us awake. We have mountains of paperwork. And the reality is that today, we live in a world of data, right? Where every metric that we require for our analysis, every attribute that we require to build our reports, every KPI, it's hidden in mountains of paperwork, is lost in the database. And many times it's hard to get access to those data points. And once we manage to extract the data, we often find ourselves with multiple versions of the truth, with multiple reports. Many times in the Intacct world, we might be using custom report writer, interactive report writer, financial report writer. But many times, that's not enough. We need to combine more data from different data sources, or we want to measure different models together. So what we end up doing is that many times we just export the reports into Excel, and then we end up with multiple spreadsheets across the organization. And the problem is that all of these reports are disconnected. They are creating multiple versions of the truth, which will only lead to something that is, and something that I call the data chaos, right? So let's expand a little bit on this data chaos. And I want to ask you, how do you prepare today? Or how do you go today beyond your standard reports, right? Let's talk about maybe a custom income statement where we want to bring additional information, where we want to break down information by multiple departments, or where we want to bring information from multiple companies. And many times the way how they are interacting, we need to make advanced transformations. We want to have written down functionalities that we can see the invoices on the customer level, right? Or a sales report where we are integrating information from the sellout, but it's information outside the ERP, and we want to link budgets. And the reality is that even many times the simple reports, it's a manual process, right? And in many cases, in many scenarios, every month we manually export the data from Intacct to Excel. And once we have the data in Excel, we manually need to clean the data. We manually need to delete certain records. Maybe certain records were historical data that doesn't make sense for my analysis. Many times we manually introduce records like budgets, targets. Then we need to prepare the data. We need to group it. We need to use certain functions, look V, look H, to keep certain format. And once we have the reports, we need to share them and we need to distribute them for the decision makers. So the first process is, it's a manual process, but it is also time consuming. How long does it take you to build a report? I'm just right now talking about one report. How many reports do you have? How many hours, days did you spend per year or you waste preparing these reports? So this is an extremely time-consuming process where there is very few strategy in the whole process. Rather than investing the time trying to discover insights to understand the data, we waste the time preparing the same reports again and again and again. And this repetitive process, which is manual, is prone to errors, which brings me to my third point. And unfortunately, throughout my data analytics career, I have seen many companies, many organizations making wrong decisions because the report were not accurate or because they had different versions of truth. And to give you just an example, the other day I saw a company where the closed financial statement, I'm saying closed financial statement, was wrong. And it was just a very simple mistake, a very silly mistake, where they forgot to multiply one number by -1. They were making the calculation and then the debit and the great nature of the numbers, and then they forgot to multiply back by -1. And well, you can imagine the consequences of having a closed financial statement where you already made all the dividends and the shares. So you can imagine the impact that they have just because they didn't have the accurate data. And now, let's say that once we finish that report, once we're analyzing the data, we realize that the reports are not telling us the whole story of the business. And you cannot deny that today's IT landscape is much more complex than before. The business are interconnected. Today it's not just about analyzing the data of one specific module. It's about how we can combine the data, how we can bring information from additional data sources, budgets that might exist in Excel, CRM system, HRM, inventory management systems, historical data, legacy systems that might be sitting on a different Sage solution. Right? So just to conclude on this, I'm sure you have likely experienced the pain of that manual process, time-consuming process, prone to errors and limited visibility, which I'm sure they are not just inconvenience for reporting. In reality, it's a barrier for growth and for strategy, right? So what is the goal here and what are we offering? Well, I want to change the narrative from this data chaos picture that we have here into a place where we can go into data harmony. And here is where the hero of our story enters. Here is where I want to talk about ZAP. And ZAP is more than a reporting solution. It's a transformation engine, which I'm going to mention why, designed for Sage Intacct. Right? So the main goal of the solution is to transform Sage Intacct data into high quality insights and intelligence. So we are not generalists, we specialize in Sage, we specialize in Intacct, and we are designed to seamlessly integrate with Intacct. And you will ask me, okay, what does that mean? And that means that we are a plug and play solution. That means that within a matter of days, we will be able to connect to your environment, to your ecosystem, and from there extract the data and deploy out-of-the-box reports for different modules, right? We have for finance, inventory, procurement, sales, and the value of this pre-built approach is the time to value, which is the second point that I have there. And that means that we understand the challenges and the opportunities within your data. In the next point, I will be going deep into those values. But that means that we know where the data is, we know how to extract the data, we know how the data needs to be transformed, how the relationship works within Intacct, which usually, building this from scratch would take months and months. So the end goal is not this pre-built approach. Everything is a journey. So this pre-built approach is just the starting point of your journey. It is a handicap. So what we want you is that you don't start from scratch. We want you to reduce the waste, to reduce effort, to optimize the time, and that you can get value and insights in a very short period of time. So the value of this is that we can customize this and we can tailor this to your specific requirements. So we can grow as you grow. So in the next slide, I want to talk about this automation. I will talk about integration and about how we build one version of the truth. But these are the 4 core values that I want to highlight in today. The solution is for you, is that time to value proposition. We are integrating information and automating that process, and we're building one version of the truth. Now, we say that we are an end-to-end data management solution because we're covering all the different aspects. This is a journey, right? And the first stop here is the data collection. And the first thing that I want to talk about is the Sage Intacct Smart Connector. So a significant limitation that many times Intacct customers face is that we depend on the data that we extract using the C data connector, which in many cases, in many scenarios, it excludes some of the custom fields and tables we might have, right? So we are working with many customers that have told us, I'm missing a specific flag. If I don't get this specific status of the project, I cannot create a report because, everything is missing. It doesn't make sense. So many times just missing one specific field there, one specific flag, means that we cannot have that accurate reporting. So that's what we are trying to address, that we have developed our own connection that address this gap by accessing most of those data points that we have within Intacct, right? So it can be on the project side, on the fixed asset side, and on the modules that I already explained before. Now, our solution is also designed to scale as your organization grows. So we know that there will be a point where the information that we have in Intacct is not enough. We want to bring information from multiple data sources. You might have some companies in Intacct and some others using a different ERP, and you want to combine everything together. You might have historical data that you want to bring to make certain forecasts or analyze seasonality. You might want to bring budgets that might be sitting in Excel. So the whole idea is to combine information from different data sources to build one version of the truth. Now, the next step is, okay, we extract the data, but now we need to transform the data and shape it in the right format for our analysis. So for all of those that are joining us from the IT side, here is where we are creating a data warehouse, where we are creating a semantic layer, right, that it's unifying all the data. But from the business side, here is where we are creating KPIs. Here is where we are creating currency conversions. Here is where we can do financial consolidation, where we are creating one version of the truth. And I want to talk here also about cross-functional reporting, because many times we can go beyond the standard reports. We can bring them to the next level with cross-functional reporting capabilities that will allow you to unify data from finance, sales, operations, and more to gain a complete picture of the company and, and to align all the different KPIs to a strategic view. And finally, the last stage here is, okay, we have this one version of truth. How do I consume this data? And today, we can choose between Power BI or SAP to visualize the data. So the solution is visualization agnostic. That means that we can use other solutions. In this case, I'm just mentioning Power BI, but you have that flexibility to decide where you want to analyze the data, right? And being a cloud solution, that means that it has all those benefits of easy access, scalability, and will allow you to analyze information. You don't necessarily need to be a Sage Intacct user. You can analyze information anywhere. You can analyze information in your mobile phones. So all of this process, we're automating all this process, the data collection, the data integration, to provide you timely insight, turning that data chaos that I was mentioning before into data harmony. Now, I will jump into the live demo. And the first thing that I want to show you is our solution. This is embedded inside Intacct, and we'll just press F11 so you can have a closer look. So this means that you can analyze the reports inside. Normally, when I deliver a demo of the product, I concentrate my attention on the out-of-the-box reports. Today, I want to talk much more about concepts. I want to highlight our value proposition, and I won't show the out-of-the-box reports, only the one that you are seeing in the screen. This is one of the out-of-the-box reports that we have for Intacct. It's just, a financial dashboard where we have different KPIs for different modules. We have an income statement, cash flow statement on the center of the screen, and on the right-hand side, we have KPIs related to a balance sheet statement, right? So this is the kind of stuff that you will get vanilla in the very first phase of implementation. Now, what I want to talk about is how we can customize and how we can bring these reports to the next level. And what you are looking in the center of the screen, this is an extract or KPIs talking about a cash flow statement. And one of our customers were telling us, it's great that you have account receivables. It's great that you have accounts payables. That gives you an idea of my cash to cash cycle. But I want to bring this to the next level. I want to combine information from different modules and from different data sources so I can get a cash flow forecast. How can you do that? And we spoke with the customer, we tried to understand what was the requirement, and then we realized that they were making many investments. They were from the manufacturing industry, and they were buying, in this case, the customer certain machinery. They were investing in certain assets. So they wanted to see how their cash flow will look like in the next 13 weeks. But many of those investments were not in the ERP, right? Because you are going to hire people, you're going to buy certain machinery, and those transactions does not exist in ERP. So the challenge here is that we have to combine, firstly, information from different modules. We have to combine information from, if you see this dashboard that I'm showing you right now, this is the end result of that effort, where firstly, the first line, and apologize if it's too small, I might need to work to make this slightly bigger, but I will describe you what we have here. What we have in the columns, these are the next 13 weeks from today. Right? So we have all of these are weeks. And the first row that I'm highlighting, this is my opening balance. This is my bank balance that I have today, right? So this is coming from the general ledger. This is coming from my financials module. So it's fine. We can break this down by banks, or we can break this down by different currencies if you want. This will depend on how we can actually want to analyze the data. But then we need to bring the inflows and the outflows of money. We want to bring the receipts, and we want to also bring the accounts payables, which are the outflows. But this information does not come only from the general ledger. We have to bring this data from the account receivable modules, because that's where we have the expected payment date that we require, right? That's where we could analyze the pattern of the customers to analyze, whether they were paying on time or not. So we are mixing here information from banks, from account receivables, from accounts payables, to understand, okay, what is the money that I have today? What are the inflows? What are the outflows that, expected in the future? So we can analyze, okay, what is my expected forecast? But here we are adding that extra component, which is that other cash events, which is the information that is coming from a master plan that they were creating. So basically we created a template, which was an Excel that they were populating, where they were basically writing those assumptions. We are extracting those assumptions. We are integrating those assumptions into this dashboard that can give us a much more accurate view on when, those inflows or outflows can happen. So it's that value, again, of going beyond the standard statements. That is going beyond a standard cash flow statement. Is having that capability to see how this will perform in the future. And just as analyzing a little bit the visuals, we have, what is my cash cycle? What is my inflows compared to my outflows? These are the other cash events that is coming from this additional data source. How my account receivables and accounts payables are aging. And a very important feature that I want to highlight is the capability to create business alerts. It's about how we can be proactive in our analysis and how we can analyze, the data that matters. So basically what we can do, we can set up a conditional alerts or subscriptions to a specific KPI that can send you automatically an email every time a metric is below its limits. So you can say, I don't want to have a bank balance which is below 50K. If the cash balance is below 50K, I want you to automatically send me a notification so I can know that, I'm having problem with the cash and I can take action before it's too late. So this is what this report is about. We can see, the different movements, and we can see the forecast, and we can see that in this week, in the week 14 of this specific fiscal year, we are having problems with the data. So it's about how we can have also actionable dashboards that can tell me the whole story. So this is just one report. I want to show you another one. These reports that I'm showing you are not pre-built. These are custom reports, but we have built these based on many of the components that we use to build the reports are based on the data that comes from our models, right? So again, we can always customize this based to your requirements. Now, this other scenario, it's a very interesting one because this company, and this was a supply chain dashboard. We're integrating the whole supply chain in one single dashboard. And what's interesting here is that for this company, the purchase orders were coming from a different system. And this is, once you have a purchase order, well, that's triggering, sorry, this is the sales order. Once you have a sales order, this triggers a process within the ERP, right? You need to create a specific job. And each job, well, it triggers different actions. You need to buy certain materials, you need to produce certain materials, you need to transform them, and then you need to send them to the customer. So what we are doing here, we are integrating the supply chain, right? We are integrating information from multiple data sources, from one data source that contains the sales order, and from here is what we have in the ERP. So we have this configuration number. This is how we created the relationship, and we are tracking the order throughout all the different processes. So this is the purchase, the sales order. This is the purchase order that we create and the job that we create, and this is the delivery part. So the whole idea of this is to analyze how I am performing in terms of the delivery, if I'm delivering on time, if I'm delivering late, so we can anticipate, and we are focusing on the customer delivery performance, right? So we know that if processing time, we are running late. Well, we know that we need to enhance our delivery so we deliver the product on time. So this is some snaps of some reporting capabilities that we can create. There is much more reports that we can create. I just want to wrap this up, and at the end of the day, Sage Data Analytics app is a comprehensive solution that is designed for Intacct, right? I know that I mentioned, but I didn't show that we have pre-built analytics, but we can customize and tailor this to our requirements. And we're going to support you throughout this journey, from extracting the data, transforming the data, populating the reports. We will automate all this process so you can invest more time analyzing the data rather than building reports. As you can see, it's user-friendly, and we will grow with you, and we will scale as your business is evolving, incorporating multiple data sources, multiple modules. And this only means that we will have a greater adoption, we have less risk, and an accelerated time to value, which at the end of the day it's a great for the return of investment for the long-term success.